Alright, so in the last video, we created our first resource. So in this video, we are going to add user model with Devise gem. So let's hop back into our text editor, open the gem file, and we're going to add gem Devise. And I'm going to use version 3.5 and run bundle. Alright, so if you look at Devise README file, you can see that Devise add this generator. So let's run that. Alright, so the generator created these two files, one initializer and one locales. And it's going to tell us what we have to do to set this up. So we're first going to add this line to our development.rb file. So let's add that. And I'm just going to write this right here. Alright, and we have to specify our root path, and we've already done that, so we'll skip that. And we're going to add this to our application.html ERB. So let's add it under our header. And we're not deploying on Heroku, so we'll skip that. Alright, so let's go back to the README, and you can see that you can run this generator to generate your model file. So we'll do that next. So Rails G Devise and user. Alright, so let's take a look at this model file that Devise created for us. So, alright, so yeah, you can add few modules to customize your authentication system, but I'm just gonna go with the default for now. So let's look at the migration file. That looks good. And I'm going to add username to our user. So let's add that. All right, so string username. All right, so let's run our migration. Rake db migrate. All right, and we can run this generator to create our views. So Rails G Devise :views. All right, so let's see if it's working in our browser. All right, that seems. If you go to users/sign-in, and we can click on sign up. So I'm just going to use can example.com password All right, so seems to be working. So let's commit that. All right, so the next thing I want to do is to write our spec, and we have to modify some of the specs we wrote. So before we do that, I want to create user sign in helper method for our specs. So let's add a spec feature user sign up spec.rb. All right, so we have two scenarios and we're gonna write the first one. So we're gonna write visit, and if you look at make routes, Devise have added these routes to our app, so we can use where is the registration? Here, new user registration path. So if we're gonna visit that route, we're gonna fill in email with example at gmail.com. Click on login. Actually, it's probably sign up. Let's double check that. All right, so to sign out, we just need to delete our cookie in our browser. So go to resources and under cookies, localhost, and just gonna delete that. All right, so if you refresh the page, oh, I have to run the server. Go to user sign in, actually sign up. You can see sign up. So let's write that in our test. Click on sign up. And we'll expect page to have content. Example at gmail.com. So let's run this spec now. Alright, so it's failing. So the undefined local variable method, new registration path. So I have typo somewhere, or this might be new user registration. unable to find password confirmation, might be lowercase. Right, so now it says expected to find example at gmail.com on our page. So let's display that in our header. So let's open up our view layouts application.html.erb, and in our header we're just gonna add if some condition if user signed in. This is the helper method Devise provides for us. So and if user is signed in, we're going to display current user email. All right, so let's run the spec again. And unexpected to find. Oh, right. So you're getting this error message, expected to find, but sign up one error, prohibited this user from being saved. Email has already been taken. And that's because we're running this test multiple times and we're trying to create new user record. But since we already have that in our database, it's not allowing us to sign up to our application. So what we need to do is to clean out our database for every test or every example in our RSpec. So I'm going to use database cleaner gem to do that. So let's go back to our browser and then go to rubygems.org, search database cleaner, and copy that to your clipboard. Go to your gem file and add that under test group. So and we're going to run bundle. And if you go to database cleaner readme, so we can use this RSpec example, but I'd rather use different one. Let's go to the documentation. RSpec example. So the documentation has this RSpec with capybara example, so we're just gonna take that. Actually, we don't have to take the outer block, so take the content inside the block and go to your text editor, open up spec rails helper.rb, and in this RSpec configuration block we're gonna paste in that code. And I have a duplication here, so I'll just delete that line. So this is going to clean out our database for every test run. So let's save that and then run our spec again. And it's passing. So let's write the user sign up unsuccessfully test. Go back to text editor, spec feature user sign up. So visit new user So we're gonna leave the password field blank, and password confirmation. Oops. And expect page to have content error. And actually Devise already takes care of this kind of thing, so hopefully this test pass. Seems, oh, I forgot to put a comma there. Alright, so it's passing. So that's good. So next, we're gonna write user sign-in spec. So let's write that. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to have user sign-in macro so that we can reuse that code in our other spec files. So let's write a simple sign-in spec. So we have two scenarios. And the first one is visit new user session path, and we're gonna fill in email with our user email, but we don't have any data in our database, so we have to have this. We have to create that before our scenario. So we're gonna write background, and inside this block, we're gonna create user create and email example at gmail.com with password password confirmation. We might not need this password confirmation, but I'm not 100% sure. And you can just fill in password, click on login, expect page to have content user email. Alright, so let's run this test. Alright, so it's already passing because Devise have already added that functionality. So let's write the other spec. I'm just gonna take this. Actually, I'm gonna take the whole thing. So we're gonna fill in email with wrong email. So wrong password and expect page not to have content user email. And let's run this spec again. Actually, all right. And it's passing. So that's great. So the reason why I did this is because I want to have a macro so that I can do something like sign in user in other feature tests. So let's create that. So I want to take this and I'm just going to write sign in user and go to spec support feature. Let's create a directory under spec support features and sign in .rb. Right, and we'll add module features and define sign in, which takes user, paste that code in and replace this user with just the regular user without an @ mark. So that's good. And go to spec Rails helper, and we just need to include that in our test. So config include features, and I'll specify the type. All right, so let's run that spec again. And it's still passing. So that's great. So we have this macro now that we can use in other feature tests. So let's commit that. User sign up in specs and